Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hey and welcome, it's Todd Cahill and you're listening to the It's Not Out There, It's In You podcast, where we talk about everything you versus you and much, much more. Again, my name is Todd Cahill. I'm beyond driven. I want to take you not just from success, but also to significance. And I just want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And Happy New Year. As I record this, we're only a few hours away from the new year of 2019. So that's exciting. Congratulations, going through another year. And today, because of the new year, and because I know a lot of you probably listening are pumped about what? New year, new you. We hear it every single year. And as an achiever myself, I never really got into that New Year's resolution stuff because I know that it doesn't work. It's not a bad thing. It's definitely better than other things out there, but you and I know that most people do not keep the resolutions. You hear it all the time. You see it. You've seen it through your own trying to keep those promises, like lose weight, make more money. And by February or March or even mid-January, it's kind of like you even forgot that you know what you even wanted. You know what you even said on January 1st, or when the ball strikes midnight. So here's the deal. I'm going to take a different approach to the new year. I'm going to talk about one of my battles that I wrote about in my book, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win, which, by the way, you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. And you can go to also www.youversusyoubook.com. You can check out the book trailer there, a little bit more about the book and some of the offerings that I offer in coaching on a virtual side and also one-on-one. But check out that book. You can get it for $19.95. It's going to be a hardback copy that you're going to get, and it's going to go through the 12 battles. And listening to this podcast, obviously I go through some of the content, not all of it, because I don't want to give my whole book away, for free here. But today I do want to talk a little bit about you versus your routine and what I wrote, and then I'm going to give you a 4-point system. And it's not one of those old school, goal setting. This is something that celebrities use. This is something that people that are very successful, millionaires, billionaires have used. It's really a universal thing. If you haven't heard of it, I think a lot of you may not have heard of it. I think it's going to, first of all, keep your attention, but also give you some context of what to do in the new year so that you are fully equipped with not just what your resolutions are. It's going to be a lot of self-evaluation, looking at exactly what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And is this honoring where I'm going? Is this pulling me towards my vision? Is this really getting me to where I need to go? But a lot of people don't even write down where they're going a year from now, let alone 5 years from now. And then towards the end, we're going to give you some action steps as well. So again, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. We really appreciate you having, being on, and we having you on this, podcast to listen in. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We're a new podcast, as you can probably see, on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play. I'd love to get some more 5-star ratings. If this adds value to you at all, take a moment to do that. We really would appreciate it. And we want to keep bringing just a great podcast to you. And one of the things that I look for in a podcast that I want to stay subscribed to is not only great information, but how can I apply this information like right now? How can I take what the person is saying or the people are saying in the interview or whatever it is, and how can I go out there and win and become better now? Not next year, not later on. And is this content usable? Is it just kind of philosophy? Or is it the how-tos? So for me, I want to bring both. I want to definitely bring some of the philosophical things I've learned as an entrepreneur. If you don't know my story, you can definitely check me out on Instagram. Todd M. Cahill is my handle. I have a bio there, and you can check some of the websites there, a little bit about me. And as an entrepreneur and author, I am a published author, a father of 3, and a husband to my beautiful wife, Kristen. And we live in both downtown Chicago and a little outside the border of Wisconsin. And we make our home in Illinois. And I've actually been all over the country, all over the different states, the West Coast and East Coast in my life. I'm 38, just turned 38. And I've learned a lot in the past 15 years coaching people, being an entrepreneur in business, and making millions of dollars working for myself. So that's been fantastic. But now going into 2019, this is more important for me than ever because I feel like I'm in my moment, and hopefully you feel the same way too. Like maybe some of the hard work that you did in 2018, maybe it didn't really show, but it is about to pay off for you. Maybe you really have gone out of your comfort zone and you started a business, or you reached out to different people for mentorship, and maybe you are building your Instagram, you're building your Facebook, you're getting your message out there, you're really diving into what that looks like, and you're really studying it up and having some kind of offering or want an offering to offer something, to people in 2019, and even a way to monetize on that. Well, any goal that you have, anything that you want to accomplish in 2019, I'm here to tell you, it is going to be based on you versus your routine among, other things. That's why you got to pick up my book, because if you can master these 12 battles, okay? And you might ask, well, what are these 12 battles? Well, one of them we're going to go through today is you versus your routine. The other battles, just to give you an idea, are you versus your persona, you versus your success, you versus your dreams, you versus your routine, your calendar, your finances. That's a big one. I'm doing a lot of different things for people on that one, because that usually is the number one. I would say 80 to 90% of people suffer with that the most, which is odd to me, because I think that's the easiest one, because it's all about your heart and your mindset on that one. You versus your freedom, you versus your promises, your health, your relationships, your knowledge, and your future. But today I want to really hit on you versus your routine, share some stories with you, and kind of go from there. How many of you have seen The Truman Show? It came out in 1998. It was a movie starring Jim Carrey, okay? And he plays a character named Truman Burbank. Okay, now how many of you like this movie? I saw it way after 1998. He lives his whole life, if you remember, on an island. He has a perfect wife, perfect neighbors, and a perfect job in a seemingly perfect world, right? What he doesn't know is that his whole life is a television show, and that his wife is an actress. That's gotta suck. She didn't even really. That was crazy, and that everything about his life is make-believe. It's scripted and controlled and tracked by hidden cameras that broadcast his every move live on television 24/7 to an audience of millions. And of course, if you've seen that show, you remember that. And there's a lot of other reality shows that obviously people's lives are taped in front of millions and millions of people. They call it reality, but really, it's not, okay? To ensure Truman never attempts to leave his contrived world, right? Because towards the end, he figured it out. He's been discouraged from pursuing his dreams and conditioned since childhood to be afraid of driving over the bridge off the island or sailing on his dead's father boat, okay? The only two means for him to find his way out of the soundstage. When he finally discovers the true nature of his existence, he's faced with a choice. Does he choose the false, albeit very comfortable existence that has been given to him, or does he exercise his free will in choosing a life with all the uncertainty that real living entails? Which would you choose? Think about that. Would you choose the absence of disorder for the assurance of safety, or the risk of chaos for the chance of a bigger life? So let me repeat that one more time. Which one would you choose? The absence of disorder. So, hey, you don't have disorder. It's very comfortable. So that you have the assurance of safety, or the risk of chaos for the chance of a bigger life. And I hope you choose the second. Many people, kind of live the first one. They don't want any disorder. They just want to live a safe risk-free, comfortable life, which, who doesn't? But the problem with that, the world, you look at even the weather, there's no place on this earth, like there's no state, there's no continent, there's no country that has just perfect weather, no hurricanes, no snow, no earthquakes. San Diego probably is one of them that's up there because I lived there for over 10 years. Pretty good weather, but there are those things called earthquakes and fires, which can be devastating, as you've seen in the news in Los Angeles just a few months ago. So there's really not a safe place that's going to have great weather all the time. So it's the same with our life. You're never just going to have a life of just complete comfort, not hard. It's just going to be a great routine, kind of like Leave It to Beaver, right? The husband goes to work, the mom stays home. And I'm just saying, hey, this is what the show, showed many, many years ago. So, hey, women, if you want to work, I'm all for it. But they have the apron on. They look like they're, just all makeup and their hair's done. It's 8 a.m. The kids go to school. Bye, mom. Bye, dad. Did you get your apple, son? Did you get your lunch? Yes, I did, dad. Oh, I love you, son. Oh, I love you too, dad. And then they go to school on the yellow school bus, and then the husband's like, I love you, babe. I can't wait to see you at dinner. Thanks for all you do. And then he goes to his work. Maybe it's an agency. Maybe it is selling insurance. And then the wife stays home and just gets all the chores done perfectly. The house is in order, and everyone just kind of comes in around 3 to 5 p.m. And the kids come home sooner than the father, obviously, and they're making up. They're helping their mom make the dinner. There was no such thing as iPads or phones back then, right? There's nothing else to do. There was barely even a TV, and if they did, they're watching the TV together, as a family. So this is, the comfortable life that's portrayed, obviously, on Leave It to Beaver, which, again, what a great life that would be, right, if that was true. But it's more nowadays, like the kids come home, they don't even want to talk to the mom. They just want to get in their own routine. They got basketball practice. They got soccer practice. You have to take them here. You have to take them there. For all you parents out there, just like we're parents. And, it's a chaos. You have one kid on the other side of the community that you live in, and then the other kid has to be picked up, and you're running and gunning if you're the father or the mother. And of course, you have your own stress in your life. You have your own routine. You have your own things you're thinking about providing for your family, about maybe money issues. Maybe it is your routine in the gym. Maybe you got to get back in the gym. You missed a workout because there's an emergency at the office, or hey, you got to go pick up the kids. Whatever it is, that's really kind of our routine, right? There's always going to be interruptions. And interruptions are going to, hurt the routine. Even if you have the best intentions that you're setting with your routine, it's always going to be something. So what did Truman pick? Okay, or perhaps the better question is, would you give up who you've been in exchange for who you can become? Think about that. Would you give up who you've been in exchange for who you can become? And I think we all know the answer to that. Just as you watch the movie at the very end, life is a risk. Okay, life is a risk, and if you are willing to risk, not risk it all, kind of thing, right? Like James Dean in his Porsche, and he didn't make it. So you don't want to risk it all, okay, or risk all your money in poker. I'm not talking about that kind of risk. I'm talking about really going after your dreams and really paving the way. Scientifically speaking, what I mean by that is like really having the science of achievement. What is the science of achievement? It's not just having a goal. It's not just having a resolution. It's actually, which is fine. You want to have a goal. You want to have something you're going after, right? You're not going to go to shoot guns without a bullseye. That would kind of be boring. You're just shooting guns out of, I'm shot a gun, but I don't know where the bullets went. You want to have a bullseye for 2019. You want to know exactly where you're going. You want to have 3 annual goals maximum. And then you want to know exactly what area of your life that these goals are going to be in. And then you're going to backtrack, okay? And then, of course, that's where the routine comes in, the daily action steps, the daily routine, the weekly rhythm, the monthly initiatives, and your year-to-year goals, okay? But here's the deal. We're creatures of habit, aren't we? Okay, we're creatures of nature. We're creatures of habit by nature, yet deep down we have a wanderlust that never quits. Now, I've always been a planner. Okay, I like planning. I like having a sense of control by planning the day before the day even starts. Knowing what I need to accomplish and exactly how many hours I have in which to do it feels almost euphoric. Okay, now how many can relate to that? Like, you're a planner, you want to plan your schedule, you want to plan your calendar. Like, it's good, it looks pretty, you even have a pretty planner, it's got roses on it, maybe it's a marble beautiful planner. Maybe if you're a guy, you're leather bound. You just love your pen. I feel you. I have to put my thoughts in writing all the time. I start with asking myself this important question, though, or the most important question is, what is the most important thing that I need to get done? In my industry, the industry that I come from, being an entrepreneur, in sales and marketing, it's definitely what's called A activity. Okay, what is my A activity? Because B activity and even C activity is not really paying the bills. It's important, like cleaning the desk, cleaning the house, maybe replying back to emails, sending some texts. But what is the main activity that's going to be paying the bills, okay, that pays the mortgage? Okay, that's important to understand in your area of expertise, or if your vocation. What is the most important thing that you do in order for you to get the most results? Okay, and I also prioritize that first, and then fill in the rest of my day with my schedule. Even though my to-do lists are different from day to day, many things are habitual. I wake up at the same time, hit the gym, drink a shake before breakfast, okay, and then have a bigger breakfast later after I work out, get the kids ready for school. I spend some time in prayer, of course, meditation. I just started that about 3 years ago. So I haven't just started it, but I started it 3 years ago. And, in the morning and the midday, definitely still, it's become habitual, but it's still difficult because, boom, right when you wake up, it's like fight or flight, right? It's like, especially if you have kids, if you have a family, or if you have maybe a stressful job or a busy job, or you live in the city, or it's like go, 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 right? So again, how is 2019 going to be different? And your fortune is found in your daily routine. So even if you wake up at the same time, right, you spend time in prayer, you meditate, you go through your emails, prep. I prep for my meetings according to the topic, participants, and expected outcomes. But for the last dozen years, I've stuck to a daily 50-20 rule, where my goal is to dial 50 numbers and to speak to at least 20 people. Now, right now, it's not as big of a goal for me as it was. But one of the things that has made me successful in relationship marketing, as far as recruiting and building a team and all that good stuff, which I've been doing now for 14 years. Now I'm an author, and I'm really getting my message out because of the things that I've gone through, good and bad, in that environment. Going from broke to homeless to making millions of dollars. Well, I'm nothing special, so I just got into a routine where I can actually pick up the phone and call certain people. Now, I didn't have 50 people to call every day in the very beginning, but when I had a big team, I would definitely want to touch 50 people a day. And even before the industry that I worked when I was working for Dr. John Maxwell, which a lot of you guys know that, I was selling simulcasts and working at Atlanta, Georgia, when it was Enjoy, when he just kind of came out with one of his top-selling books, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So this was back early 2000 years. And we couldn't leave the office. It was tracked until we actually dialed 50 pastors and sell them a simulcast program. And we had to also speak to 20 pastors. So we had to get through the secretary to get on the phone with 20 minimum people a day individually. So that was my KPI, my key performance indicator, that showed me, okay, this is, if I can speak to 20 people a day times 5, that's 100 people a week. Let's say my conversion rate back then of sales was 5%, and I'm making $1,000 every 5 people or whatever. And now I can say, okay, I'm going to make this money, and I can start setting realistic goals based on the number, based on the ratio. Because once you start doing the A activity, once you start identifying what is your A activity, whether you're in sales, whether you're insurance sales or real estate, or you have to prospect, you have to recruit, or if you're selling an online course, or even if you're an author or speaker, or even if you're a teacher, how many students do you have, and what is the average grade per student? And this is what's going to help you raise your standards. It's going to help you raise your self-awareness so that you can really build a foundation, a better foundation, and keep growing. And also maybe mess up your routine of things that you used to do that you're divorcing and not doing anymore, so that you can become more effective, okay? So my habits create order, and I produce results by ensuring that my day unfolds in the most effective manner possible. The day doesn't run me, I run my day. Okay, that's the intention every day. I run my day, the day doesn't run me. If you think about it, our habits emerge through associative learning. They're formed over our lifetime and become automatic. We don't always recognize them in our own behavior. In fact, in 2007, the Media Lab at MIT did a study, okay, listen to this, where they fitted students with a custom-made electronic black boxes to monitor them as they went about their day, working, meeting, eating, and going out and sleeping. Okay, the devices recorded where they went and how fast they moved, their tone of voice, their subtle details about their body language. What this research revealed is that a good 90% of what people do in any day follows routines so complete that their behavior can be predicted with just a few mathematical equations. 90% of what people do in any day follows routines. We're like I said, we're creatures of habit by nature. Yet deep down, we have a wanderlust that never quits, right? So you got to be careful. I think you can look at that in two different ways. You can look at it that's a positive thing, that's a negative thing. I look at it, yes, if I know where I'm going, if I'm in that routine 90% of the time and it's pulling me towards my vision, my goals, my mission, my return on investment and my ROM, my return on mission, then I'm doing really good. Even if it's 70%, I'm kicking ass, okay? But if you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting that this year is going to be different than last, of course, we all know that Albert Einstein, one of the smartest men ever to walk this earth, said that's the definition of what? Insanity. It's the definition of insanity, thinking that you got to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So what are you going to shake up this year? What are some things that are just not working for you? You've got to take the time to audit. You've got to take the time to audit your situation, audit what you want, audit what you don't have, that you need to have, that you do want, and get into a better routine, okay? So think about this. Are you that predictable? If so, is it based on reflex, control, or comfort? Which one? Reflex, control, or comfort? Habits can be so beneficial. Obviously, drinking enough water, flossing, hey, that's a good one. Stretching, going to sleep at the same time, implementing daily exercise. That's something that, to me, that just is a nonstop thing for me. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care how tired I am. I'm just going to the gym 6 days a week minimum. That's just something that's habitual for me. Obviously, I'm sure showering is habitual for you. Eating is habitual for you. Some people more than others. What about flossing your teeth? Not so much probably, because that's just that extra step. But I'm sure brushing your teeth for a lot of you hopefully is not too hard. But look, the more we do something, the easier it slips into our daily routines and becomes second nature. But the same is true for bad habits. The urge for tendencies like swearing, nail biting, driving too fast, overeating, or procrastinating grows stronger each time you do them until they become automatic. Habits are so strong that our brain clings to them at the exclusion of all else, including common sense, so they can be broken, but not without conscious choice and deliberate action. Okay, so you've probably heard this, but it takes, 21 days, right? You've heard this. 21 days to break a habit. Its roots go back to 1950s where plastic surgeon Maxwell Maltz noticed a pattern among his patients. When he performed an operation like a nose job, his patients didn't seem to get used to their new face until about 21 days had passed. Similarly, when a patient had an arm or leg amputated, he noticed a 21-day adjustment period during which they sensed a phantom limb. These and many other commonly observed phenomena tend to show that it requires a minimum of about 21 days for an old mental image to dissolve and a new one to gel, he wrote in his wildly popular book. Okay, so here's the deal. However, and this is what I teach even my one-on-one clients, and even make sure I focus on this myself, changing behavior. So if you're going to change your routine, it's not just changing habits, going from a bad habit to a good habit. It's also changing your behaviors, because you have learned, even like a dog, like my dog, wakes up at the same time, goes to the bathroom right in the morning, goes quick as he possibly can, and then he's going to go right down the stairs, right with his food. He's only 7 or 8 months old now, golden retriever. And he just eats, but takes him 2 seconds, eats it all, comes back up, lays back down, spends about 20 minutes lie down. Then he wants to come up in bed with us and then hang out, and then gets back down, wants to go back out. It's a constant routine that the dog has. Now, who taught him that? I don't know, but that's just what he started to do when he was young, and now he's doing it all the time, okay? So you have to just understand, once you do something, and a more recent study found that it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit, okay? So 21 days, yes, that's kind of the base, but 66 days to form a new habit. And this research worked under the assumption that in order to break a habit, one must replace it with a new one. Okay, so again, you have a bad habit, replace it with a new one. Don't just quit cold turkey. Okay, a group of 96 people were asked to choose one new habit and report each day over a 12-week period on whether or not they did the behavior and how automatic the behavior felt. Some people choose simple habits like drinking a bottle of water with lunch instead of soda, and others choose more difficult tasks like running for 15 minutes before dinner instead of a brisk walk afterward. The researchers analyzed the data and found that it took anywhere from 18 days to 254 days for people to form their new habit. So what that tells me with this study is that we're all different. It's not going to take Todd Cahill maybe 21 days and you 254 days. It might take me 43 days and it might take you 67 days. But the bottom line is you have to start identifying, even if it's just one simple good habit like drinking more water. Well, how many glasses a day more are you going to be drinking? What times are you going to be drinking? Before dinner, probably, so that you can, not eat as much. Maybe if you're trying to lose weight, maybe digestion issues, so on and so forth. But something easy, something that is predictable, and something that you can really monitor, okay? And from there, of course, you're building your self-confidence. So whether it's 21 days or 66 days, the point is this. As powerful as habits are, our minds can eventually break the automatic responses. Yet the same cannot be said for our bodies. Well, what do you mean? That's right. So our bodies are a little bit different than our minds. Okay, so here's the deal. One of the most important self-preservation mechanisms our bodies have is homeostasis. It's the mothership of predictability. Okay? From the Greek words for same and steady, homeostasis refers to any process that living things use to actively maintain stable conditions necessary for survival. For example, temperature. Our body naturally wants to be at an average of 98.6 degrees. As you know, if it gets to 99, 100, of course, you're like flu-like symptoms. You feel horrible. Anything above 100, 101, you're just like deathly ill. Okay, so 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It regulates through sweating to dispel heat or shivering to reduce blood circulation so that we automatically maintain our norm. Homeostatic reactions are inevitable and force us to resist change. So as a person who gravitates towards structure and order, I'm a huge fan myself of homeostasis. It's both a psychological and a behavioral response for me. My actions and interactions are always striving to maintain balance and consistency. There are people like me who naturally thrive on structure, and there are others who thrive on change. The latter are who we'd call spontaneous, impulsive, free-spirited. They're explorers and roamers and wanderers whose worst nightmare is redundancy and sameness. Instead of unpredictability being a stressor in their life, it's a life-giving chance and a circumstance translated to freedom. A good example is improvisation comedy. Now, I love this. I go to a lot of improv groups and comedies myself because I love comedy. It's one of my favorite things to do in my off time with my wife. In an improv group, members ask for audience suggestions and then use these suggestions to create a skit. It's spontaneous, unpredictable, and hilarious. Improvisation seems incredibly difficult since it apparently involves making up an entire skit on the spot. But upon close inspection, it turns out that improvisation isn't as random as it might appear. There's a big difference between spontaneity and randomness. Randomness is chaotic, muddled, and by definition impossible to plan. So all you planners out there hate randomness. So if you're married to someone that's random and you're a planner, you might be having marital issues, okay? So you know what I'm talking about. Spontaneity, on the other hand, is actually a conscious choice and can even be rehearsed and trained for. When a comedic actor are in the high-stakes situation of a performance, they act quickly and make snap judgments, but they also follow certain rules. Improv's rule of spontaneity is the yes and rule. Okay, so quote unquote yes, comma and unquote rule. When a performer offers a suggestion or new idea, the other performers immediately agree with the idea and use it to move the scene forward. It's important to notice that the yes and rule doesn't offer any advice for what to do or say in an improv performance. Rather, it creates an optimal conditions for a good performance. What if we look at spontaneity like this, okay? Even if spontaneous behavior itself will always be unpredictable and to some extent random, is it possible to predict the development of the proper conditions of spontaneity? So which one are you? As you hear this, what are you, are you spontaneous? Do you do spontaneous things? Because I believe, for me personally, it's the spice of life. Like, for instance, yesterday I woke up and my wife thought I was going to be filming all day because I'm launching something. And depending on whether you hear this or not, I'm going to be launching something January 8th, a free webinar, but I'm going to be doing ongoing. So even if you're listening to this February or whatever in 2019, I'm sure you can check my social media and stuff like that and different ads. But she thought I was going to be filming this new product that I'm offering the public. And that was the plan, but I just woke up and I'm like, hey, let's go to our favorite breakfast spot and, just take some time to ourselves this morning on this Sunday morning. And it was spontaneous. And we spent about 4 or 5 hours together in the morning and brunch. And even in a relationship, you need that, but there also needs to be a routine, for instance, in a marriage where there has to be a date night at least once a week. It shouldn't be a spontaneous date night every week. Like, hey, this week we're not having one, but next week maybe we will. So keep your eyes peeled. That's not really going to, sit well with the spouse, especially if they're your wife. Okay. It doesn't really sit well with women. So what women love, men, listen up, is they do love routine. Okay, there's a lot of women out there that do appreciate intention from a man. They do appreciate a great routine because it shows great confidence. It shows great motivation and inspiration that person has within themselves. They're self-motivated. They're a go-getter. And of course, look, Thursday night, no matter what, no matter how busy I am, I'm always going to have date night with you. Boom. Routine, baby. That is what I would say you should have, right? But being spontaneous could be, maybe, you don't work on a Saturday when you were scheduled to work and you just got to take the day off and take your significant other out and just have fun. Or maybe you personally are spontaneous and you just, have a date day with yourself, get your nails done, get your hair done, maybe go catch a flick or something. And you haven't really done that. So you've gone out of your routine and it's very refreshing. It helps your overall health and even your mental health. Okay, psychologists have said that we're all born with spontaneity. When we're young, we see something beautiful and we admire it. We see something funny and we laugh. We see something new and we explore it. We go with the flow. As we age, we tend to expend more and more effort on controlling outcomes. Okay, am I talking to the right people right now? This is due to the responsibilities that fall to us when we become adults, of course, but also our personalities continue to form. Some people begin more easygoing, where others are cautious. Some are competitive, and others are soft-spoken. Some are thrill seekers, and others are scared of the unknown. On the spectrum of structured to spontaneous, where do you fall? Do you feel like one is better than the other? Okay. So I believe what Neil Donald Walsh says. He says, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. That can go both ways to be true for both ends of the spectrum. If you're comfortable within the confines of your routine, think of everything you're missing on the other side of those guardrails. If you're more apt to be daring and impulsive, think of what can be gained by enforcing some parameters and regularity. And I want to say, because I've seen this in my own parents, I've seen this in my own marriage, and I've seen this in people close to me and myself and other people, we love comfort. We love watching the same movie that we've seen over and over again. We like watching the same series that we've seen over and over again. And it's more of fear. It's like, okay, and I know it sounds silly, but for me personally, I really love the show The Office. If there's one person that I could meet one day, it would, first of all, be the cast of The Office, but the main person, obviously, Steve Carell. And I would just love to meet him. I think he's a genius. I think he's just one of the funniest people out there. I think it was absolutely epic what he did for The Office, including all the other actors too, by the way. I think they're all amazing. And I've literally watched that series. There's nine seasons. There's probably 23 to 25 or 26 episodes, pretty much almost all season except season 1 or even 2. But then it got popular. I watched every single one over 5 times. Okay, now you might think I'm crazy. You might think I don't have life. Now I don't just sit there and watch it. No, when I'm eating dinner, when I'm going to the bathroom, just when I'm bored, I want a 10-minute laugh, I'll just go to one of the episodes, or when I'm, of course, working out, doing cardio. And to me, it's like I don't even want to start another series. And I really want you to follow me on this one. It's like I don't even want to start a new series because why? Because it might not be as funny. So I'm telling my brain, it's not going to be as funny. It's not going to be as good. Don't waste your time. Your life is precious. So watch something I already know the outcome. Because we're so scared of newness sometimes. We're so scared to date. We're so scared of, well, I don't know. I've never dated a married man, not a married man, or a divorced man who was married, I should say. Like my wife, I was divorced, and about a year later is when I met her. And she said she would never, ever, ever marry a divorced person or have kids. Of course, she did, and thank God. But I think sometimes we tell ourselves even this is what we're gonna do. This is what my preconceived notion. This is what I'm not gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. But then maybe you break that and you're spontaneous, and look what happens. Look what happens in all the blessings that you have. That maybe again, it's something as silly as a TV show. Maybe you start a new show and you're like blown away by it. You're like, oh my God, this is my new. I watched The Office all these years. Oh my God, this is just as good. I wouldn't even say nothing's better than that, but I'm a big fan. But I'm just saying, like, this is just as good. I'm so happy. Blah blah. And that's obviously kind of a silly little example, but it could be even a relationship. Oh, I'm so glad I took a chance. I'm so glad I was spontaneous. When I really wasn't spontaneous. But I think there's room for both. I think you need to be spontaneous and also have a routine. Really to win the battle of you versus your routine, you must introduce disruption, okay? And like U.S. Navy SEALs have a saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable, shall we? Are you ready for 2019 to really get comfortable being uncomfortable, okay? Because that's the only way that you're going to change. That's the only way that your life will change for the better, okay? So wrapping up here, what do habits, rituals, and routine all have in common? Discipline. Highly successful people have it. The examples that I could use are countless examples of people that have discipline. For instance, Pistol Pete Maravich would go into the gym on Saturday mornings and practice shooting from a specific spot on the court until the gym closed at night. Billionaire Richard Branson wakes up at 5 a.m. to play tennis or bike before getting on with his day. There's Cy Young award-winning Phillies pitcher Roy Halladay does a 90-minute workout before each practice. Okay, so he practices, but that's after he did a 90-minute workout. Okay, Cy Young winner, which is the highest level of a pitcher in the Major League Baseball. So the list goes on, right? We could just look and talk about great people like Stephen King. Writes 10 pages a day without fail, even on the holidays, over and over and over again for decades, okay? So when was the last time you plateaued? When was on the way up the corporate ladder, okay? I'm going to talk about plateaued a little bit, because if you're doing even a routine, the same old thing, when was the last time you plateaued? Because the downside to this approach can lead to eventual and inevitable plateau. Okay, sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes you're just doing the same thing and you're just kind of plateaued. You're not really seeing any more success, etc., especially financially or production-wise. But when was the last time you plateaued? When a plateau occurs, it's not always due to a lack of trying. It's due to flatlining. And I call it static discipline, okay? So what's static discipline? So really, it's a couple of things. I'm not going to bore you with some of the studies here, but back in the 1960s, two psychologists, Paul Fitz and Michael Posner, discovered that when you acquire a skill, you go through 3 stages. The first stage is called the cognitive phase. In this phase, you must concentrate intently on what you're doing as you figure out strategies on how to accomplish the skill more effectively and efficiently. The cognitive phase is ridiculed with mistakes as you learn the ins and outs of your new pursuit. Doesn't that sound familiar, right? When you're pursuing something, this is the hardest part. Think back to learning to riding a bike. Obviously, learning to ride a bike without training wheels. You wobble and fall over. You bleed. You get hurt. You fall on your knees. Your dad or mom hopefully was there to help you. You get back up, right? You fall half a dozen more times. You never want to ride your bike again. Okay, imagine if we had the same philosophy about walking. We're little babies, we stumble, we keep falling, and we're like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to walk. Now you're an adult and you still are crawling everywhere because you never learned how to walk because you gave up in that first stage, right? First phase. The second phase is the associative phase. During the associative phase, you make fewer mistakes. Consequently, you feel more comfortable with the skill and begin to concentrate less on what you're doing. Your bike stays upright. Okay, so you don't keep falling. It's not swaying left and right. It's staying upright, and you're really starting to figure it out. You feel more balanced, and you pick up speed. Oh my gosh, that's that moment you're like, oh my God, I got it. This is huge. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it. You're open to riding in front of your friends because you're pretty sure you won't embarrass yourself anymore. The final stage is the autonomous phase, okay? autonomous phase. You reach a skill set where you're able to do the task without having to really think about it at all. Autonomous, okay? I think I said that wrong. But it's automatic. It's now ingrained in your subconscious mind. You don't even pay attention to steering or pedaling now because you're riding your bike. Riding your bike has become so automatic. In fact, you can ride without holding on to the handlebars. You can catch air on the bike ramp and safely land. You can even teach bicycling if you want to. Automatic. It's there. You've done it over and over again. There are areas in your life where staying in this final phase is perfectly fine because you have no desire to become Lance Armstrong, right? Or any top cycler. You can live at the static discipline level, but for those who want to continually get better, and this is what's so exciting, even for what I'm doing and doing a podcast and even but just kind of branching out of what I've been doing for 14, 15 years, and I'm definitely at that automatic phase where I just, boom, it just comes naturally and easy. But breaking out, it's different. You're learning more skills, different things, even technology, building a brand, building a message, right? You can live at a static discipline level, but for those who want to continually get better, how do you break the past and how do you break that plateau? If you already know everything there is to know about riding a bike and have logged countless hours proving it, where do you go from there? You replace static discipline with dynamic discipline, okay? So this is the key. And of course, there's many stories that I can share about this, but I would just say dynamic discipline is reactive and proactive. It's finding ways to disrupt your static schedule in order to maximize your effectiveness. It's shaking things up to see whether you can find an edge. So what is your edge? What are you going to be shaking up this year in 2019? That's where the edge is going to be coming from. Not just doing the same thing you did in 2018 and 2017. Oh, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to make twice as much income. I'm going to make 3 times. I'm going to triple my income. But I'm just going to stay static. I'm just going to do the automated stuff that I've always done. No, it's not going to work. Okay? You got to shake things up and then also find where you can find your edge. It's being willing to adapt and experiment and turn the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, on its head. So that doesn't mean you always have to add something to your routine in order to improve. Maybe it's what you remove that could make the biggest difference. Maybe there's some things in your life that you're going to get rid of and actually marginal. The theory of marginal gains can work in reverse. If you find yourself stuck with bad habits or poor results, it's usually not because something happened overnight. It's the sum of many small choices, a 1% decline here and there that eventually leads to a problem. Okay, so again, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. It's an important quote, and Warren Buffett said, chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. The moral of the story is to tinker, gain, lose, adjust, change, stop, start, yes, end. Okay, so wrapping up, guys, I want you to also figure out where you have to detour. Where are some things that you need to stop? You need to reflect. You need to really look at your goals. Where are you going in 5 years? What is your 3 annual goals for 2019? What are you focused on? How are you going to get rid of some of the old habits? How are you going to disrupt even the automated stuff that you do, the things that you know now for years, and it's so hard to get out of that comfort zone, okay? But understand that you've got to take a detour. When was the last time your itinerary was to have no itinerary? Enjoy life at the same time. Don't just be so routine that it's all about your routine. Take a detour. Do fun things. Go on vacation. Maybe you haven't gone on vacation in a while. Do it. Maybe your spouse is waiting for you to do that. Do it. Don't be so worried. And I'm taking my own advice on this too because I feel the same way of me. That's why I want to share this message because I want and am doing a lot of these things in 2019 myself. Okay? You are what you do. So to change who you are, to grow, you must constantly battle your routine. We are always striving for more, for better, for clearer. To win this battle of you versus your routine, you cannot stay linear, but you must, instead be a circle with a bullseye to aim for. It's not easy to break up a routine, and not every routine should be broken. But in the end of your commitment to adaptation is a better fertilizer than your commitment to habit. okay? So out with the old, in with the new. This is a new year. What are some new routines that you're picking up? What are some things that are going to be encouraging to you? What are some things that you're going to do differently than you really have done? And in the beginning, it's going to seem weird. It's going to seem weird that you're taking more time to study. You're taking more time to learn. Even though maybe you already have a set income and you're happy with your income, but maybe you want to branch off and this is your time to really go after your dreams and goals. But it's going to take a little time away from your income that you currently have. And it might hurt you in a way, but long term, it's going to really hurt you because you're not following your true calling and your true purpose. So whatever it is, I just want you to know that there are people that believe in you. I believe in you. I believe that if you're all the way up to this part of the podcast, I believe that you are hungry for the information. And I believe that in order to take action on that, I believe you should probably do 3 things here. Isolate 3 habits in your life that are holding you back from your full potential and think about why. That's the first thing I want you to do is isolate 3 habits in your life that are holding you back from your full potential and think about why. So write that down and kind of the action steps coming out of this podcast. In with the new. So again, out with the old, in with the new. Determine 3 great habits that you can implement for the next 30 days that will permanently divorce you from the habits that are holding you back. Okay, what are 3 great habits that you can replace with the bad habits? 3 bad. And then the last thing is write down a new daily routine that you can implement for the next 7 days and stick to it. Start sticking to it. Just 7 days. Not 21, not 66 yet. I want you to start to stick to something for 7 days. So those are the action steps. Guys, Happy New Year. I'm so excited for you to be listening to this podcast. Again, every single week I'm going to try to bring the different battles that we face. I want you to win the battle within. I don't want you to self-sabotage anymore. Again, get my book. It comes out February 19th. You can pre-order right now on Amazon or go to, you can go to Amazon or you can also just go to www.youversusyoubook.com. Definitely follow me on social media. I appreciate that. And I'm excited about getting out of my normal routine after about 14 to 15 years. Yes, I've been successful in entrepreneurship. Yes, I've been successful in relationship marketing. But now I'm really following what I've wanted to do for many, many years. And it's new and it's scary and it's sometimes I'm filled with fear about it. But you know what? Because of what I shared with you today, I can stick to something and I can create newness in my life and I can really go after my dreams the way that I want to do it because I'm the creator of my life. You can do it too. All you got to do is be consistent and be consistent with disruption and be consistent with being spontaneous, but stick to a routine on the important stuff. And by the way, if you're married, go on date night this week. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. We'll hear you next time. We'll hear you on the podcast next time. Thanks so much for being on.